The mining colony on Kepler 442b had been quiet for 3 days. No radio signals, no shipping traffic, no response to any communication attempt from the Colonial Defense Network. When the patrol vessel Distant Star arrived to investigate, Lieutenant Maya Cole was among the first soldiers to set foot on the surface. She had served in the military for 12 years. She had seen combat on 4 different worlds. She had buried friends and enemies alike. But nothing in her experience had prepared her for what waited in that colony. The smell hit them first. It was the smell of death, but wrong somehow. Too clean, too organized. When they entered the main settlement, Maya understood why. The colonists had been arranged in rows. Over 3,000 bodies, men and women and children, all placed with careful precision in the central plaza. Their faces had been removed. Their hands had been taken. And above each body stood a crystalline spire, growing from the ground like some terrible flower, each one containing a trophy taken from the dead. Private First Class Olivia Santos fell to her knees and vomited. Sergeant Danny Price whispered a prayer under his breath. Even Captain Gregory Hughes, a veteran of 30 years, stood silent and pale as he surveyed the horror before him. Maya felt something cold settle in her chest. It was not fear. It was not grief. It was rage, pure and patient, waiting for a target. The briefing had told them about the Vexery, an insectoid species from the far side of the galaxy. They had earned their reputation across 40 star systems. They were hunters. Not conquerors, not invaders, not colonizers. Hunters. They traveled from world to world seeking worthy prey. And when they found a species they considered interesting, they hunted it to extinction. Humans were their newest fascination. Captain Hughes ordered a full tactical sweep of the colony. The soldiers moved in teams of 4, checking buildings, searching for survivors, documenting the dead. Maya led her squad through the residential district, stepping over broken doors and scattered belongings that told stories of desperate flight and inevitable capture. They found no survivors, but they found plenty of signs that the Vexery were still nearby. The attack came without warning. One moment, Maya was checking a supply closet. The next, the wall beside her exploded inward as a massive shape burst through the prefabricated metal like it was paper. The Vexery warrior stood nearly 7 feet tall. Its body was covered in black chitin that gleamed like polished obsidian. 4 arms extended from its thorax, each one ending in claws capable of shredding combat armor. Its head was dominated by compound eyes that reflected Maya's terrified face 1,000 times. It killed Corporal Ben Torres before he could raise his weapon. A single swipe of its clawed hand tore through his armor and chest. Torres died without making a sound. Maya opened fire. Her rifle barked on full automatic, rounds sparking off the creature's exoskeleton. It staggered but did not fall. Behind her, she heard more gunfire, more screams, more of those horrible clicking sounds that served as Vexery language. The battle lasted 7 minutes. When it was over, Maya's entire squad was dead. She survived only because the tunnel collapsed. A stray grenade, thrown by specialist Katie Morgan in her final moments, brought down the ceiling between Maya and the Vexery that had been about to kill her. She lay in the darkness, half buried in rubble, listening to her friends die on the other side of the barrier. When she finally dug herself out, she was alone. Her radio was destroyed. Her rifle was bent and useless. She had only her sidearm, 10 rounds of ammunition, and the combat knife her father had given her the day she enlisted. She made her way through the ruined colony, staying in the shadows, avoiding the clicking sounds that echoed from every direction. The Vexery were everywhere, dozens of them, moving through the streets with the casual confidence of predators who knew they were untouchable. They found her near the mining complex entrance. There were 8 of them. led by a massive specimen that stood nearly 8 feet tall. Its armor was different from the others, covered in markings and decorations that Maya guessed indicated rank or achievement. When it spoke, its translator device rendered its clicks and whistles into cold, precise English. "A survivor," it said. "How interesting." Maya raised her pistol, knowing it was hopeless. The creatures surrounded her completely. Even if she killed one, the others would tear her apart before she could fire again. But the pack leader raised one of its 4 arms, stopping the others from advancing. "You are alone, soft creature," it said. "Your packmates are dead. Your weapons are weak. You are no threat to us." "Then kill me and get it over with," Maya said. Her voice did not shake. She would not give them that satisfaction. The pack leader made a sound that might have been laughter. "Kill you? No, that would be wasteful. You are prey, and prey exists to be hunted." It gestured, and 2 warriors stepped forward. They took her rifle, her communicator, her emergency beacon, her medkit. They left her the pistol and the knife. "We give you the gift of the hunt," the pack leader said. "Run far. Hide well. Make us work for our trophy. Your terror will make the kill so much sweeter." Maya looked at the pistol in her hand. 10 rounds. A knife. Against 8 Vexary warriors. "You think this is funny?" she asked. "I think this is sport. You have 1 hour before we begin. Use it wisely, little prey." The pack stepped back, forming a corridor that led toward the mining complex. Maya understood. They wanted her to run into the tunnels, to flee into the darkness where they could track her at their leisure. She thought about her squad. Danny Price, who had 3 children waiting for him back on Earth. Olivia Santos, who had just gotten engaged. Ben Torres, who made terrible jokes but always volunteered for the dangerous jobs. Katie Morgan, who had saved Maya's life on 2 separate occasions before giving her own dot. She thought about the 3,000 colonists arranged in rows in the plaza. She thought about the trophies on those crystalline spires. And she ran. Not because they told her to. Not because she was afraid. She ran because she needed time. Time to think. Time to plan. Time to figure out how to kill every single one of these monsters. The Vexary watched her go, their clicks and whistles sounding almost gleeful. They did not know what they had done. They had faced 100 species across 100 worlds. And everyone had reacted the same way. Panic, flight, desperate, futile attempts at survival that only made the hunt more entertaining. But humans were different. Humans have not risen to dominate their planet by being good at running away. They had done it by being very, very good at killing things that tried to kill them. Maya disappeared into the mines, and the Vexary began their count. 1 hour until the hunt began. It was the last mistake they would ever make. The mines of Kepler 442b went deep. Decades of drilling and blasting had carved hundreds of kilometers of tunnels into the planet's crust. The colonial mining operation had extracted valuable minerals from these depths, shipping them across the galaxy to fuel humanity's expansion into the stars. Now those tunnels would serve a different purpose. Maya moved through the darkness with careful steps. Her tactical contacts provided some light amplification, turning absolute blackness into shades of gray and green. It was not much, but it was enough to navigate without running into walls. She had memorized the facility's layout during the mission briefing. Captain Hughes had insisted that every team member study the schematics, and Maya had taken that order seriously. Now that knowledge was the only advantage she possessed. The Vexary were better than her in almost every way. Their compound eyes could see in complete darkness. Their antennae could detect vibrations through solid rock. Their bodies were covered in natural armor that could stop bullets. Their reflexes were faster than any human could match. but they did not know these tunnels. And they did not know what tools the miners had left behind. Maya found the first supply station 20 minutes into her flight. The miners had abandoned it during the Vexery attack, leaving in such a hurry that they had not bothered to secure their equipment. She searched through the lockers and storage bins, taking inventory of anything useful. Mining explosives. Small charges designed for breaking up mineral deposits. Not powerful, but in the right circumstances, they could be deadly. Industrial flares. Burning compounds meant for marking excavation sites. They would not hurt a veggery, but the light and heat might confuse their senses. Climbing gear. Ropes and harnesses and hooks that the miners used to access difficult areas. In tunnels with vertical shafts and high ceilings, these could give Maya options the vexery would not expect. She worked quickly, filling her pockets and pouches with everything she could carry. Her arm ached where a piece of debris had cut her during the tunnel collapse, but she ignored the pain. Pain was just information. It told her she was still alive. The hour passed. Somewhere in the tunnels above her, Maya heard the hunting calls begin. They were sharp, clicking sounds that echoed through the stone passages like malevolent music. The vexery were not trying to be quiet. They wanted her to hear them coming. They wanted her fear to build with every passing moment. Maya listened carefully, counting the calls and mapping their positions. The pack had split up, spreading through the tunnel network in a standard hunting formation. They would drive her toward the center of their group, cutting off escape routes one by one until there was nowhere left to run. It was a smart strategy. It had probably worked on every species they had ever hunted, but Maya was not going to run anymore. She selected her first ambush point carefully. A vertical shaft connected two tunnel levels, with maintenance alcoves carved into the rock at regular intervals. Maya climbed to the highest alcove and wedged herself into the shadows, a mining charge in one hand and her knife in the other. The first vexery scout arrived 30 minutes later. It was smaller than the pack leader, probably a young warrior eager to prove itself. It moved with liquid grace, 4 arms holding an assortment of hunting implements. Hooks for dragging prey, nets for trapping them, ceremonial blades for the killing blow. It did not look up. Maya dropped the mining charge. The explosion was not large. In open air, it would barely have knocked a person off their feet. But in the enclosed space of the tunnel, the pressure wave was devastating. It slammed into the vexery warrior, rupturing the membranes in its antennae and sending it crashing to the ground. Maya was already falling. She had jumped the moment the charge left her hand, timing her descent to land on the stunned creature's back. Her knife found the gap where its head met its thorax, sliding between the plates of chitin. The vexery thrashed beneath her. Its forearms flailed wildly, claws coming dangerously close to Maya's face. But she held on, driving the knife deeper, searching for the nerve cluster she knew was buried somewhere in that armored neck. She found it. The creature shuddered once and went still. Maya rolled off the body and crouched in the darkness, listening. The explosion had been loud. The rest of the pack would have heard it. They would be coming to investigate. She worked quickly, stripping the dead warrior of anything useful. A communicator device crackled with confused clicks and whistles as the other vexery tried to contact their fallen comrade. Hunting hooks that would serve better as weapons than her knife. A pouch of something that looked like emergency rations. She left the body where it fell and disappeared deeper into the tunnels. The vexery found their dead warrior within the hour. Maya listened to their communications, not understanding the language, but recognizing the change in tone. The playful clicks had become sharp and angry. The hunt was no longer a game. The pack leader's voice came through the communicator, cold and commanding. Maya did not need a translator to understand the meaning. He was ordering his warriors to be careful, to move in pairs, to treat this hunt as a real threat. Good. Cautious enemies were slow enemies. And Maya needed them to be slow. She spent the next several hours preparing the tunnels. She rigged mining charges to pressure sensors, creating traps that would collapse ceilings onto anyone who triggered them. She set up diversions using equipment left behind by the miners, noisemakers that would draw the hunters into dead ends and ambush points. The second kill came when a pair of Vexery investigated one of her diversions. The trap collapsed the tunnel behind them, while Maya waited at the other end. They charged toward her, expecting easy prey. 2 shots. 2 hits. Not kills, but the impact staggered the warriors long enough for Maya to close the distance. The first fell to the hunting hooks she had taken from the scout. The second managed to cut her with its ceremonial blade before her knife found its throat. Maya bound the wound with strips from her uniform and kept moving. The pack was now down to 5 warriors and their leader. Her ammunition count stood at 7 rounds. She could hear the pack leader's fury even through the translator's flat tones. He was screaming orders now, demanding his warriors find and kill her. The ceremonial hunting calls had stopped entirely. This was no longer sport. This was war. Maya smiled in the darkness. War was something humans understood very well. The tunnels grew stranger as she moved deeper into the mine. The mineral deposits gave way to natural caverns that had existed long before humans ever came to this world. Water dripped from stalactites. Strange fungi glowed with pale bioluminescence. The air grew thick and heavy with the smell of ancient stone. Here, the Vexery's advantages would diminish. The mineral-rich walls would interfere with their special vision. The constant sounds of water and shifting rock would mask Maya's movements. She found an old geological survey station in one of the largest caverns. The researchers who had worked here were long dead, their bodies still sitting at their workstations where the Vexery had killed them. Among their equipment, Maya found something that made her heart skip. An emergency beacon. Damaged, but potentially repairable. She set to work, ignoring the pain in her arm and back. The pack was getting closer. She could hear them in the tunnels now, methodically checking each passage. But if she could get this beacon working, help would come. The device flickered to life, broadcasting a distress signal that any colonial defense vessel within a light year would detect. Maya allowed herself a moment of hope. Then she heard the clicking sounds getting closer, and she prepared for the next fight. 6 enemies remained. 7 bullets. 1 knife, and a human who refused to die. The geological survey station became Maya's fortress. She spent 2 hours preparing it for defense, using everything she had learned in 12 years of military service and everything she had observed about Vexery behavior. The cavern had 3 entrances. She mined 2 of them with explosives rigged to collapse the tunnels if triggered. The third she left open, creating a killing ground between the entrance and her position behind the research equipment. She was hurt. The cut on her arm had started bleeding again, and the wound on her back from the ceremonial blade was deeper than she had first thought. Blood loss was making her dizzy, but she pushed through the weakness. She had treated worse injuries in the field. She would survive this one too. The emergency beacon continued its broadcast, sending a distress signal into the void. Help was coming. She just needed to stay alive long enough for it to arrive. The Vexery took their time approaching. They had learned caution the hard way, and the pack leader was not willing to lose more warriors to human traps. Maya watched their progress on the stolen communicator, tracking their positions as they swept through the tunnel network. They found her trap mines one by one, disarming them with careful precision. It cost them hours of time, but it kept them alive. The pack leader was smart. Smarter than she had hoped, but smart enemies could still make mistakes. The first 2 warriors entered the cavern through the open tunnel, moving in perfect formation. They swept the room with their compound eyes, searching for threats. Maya lay perfectly still in her hiding spot, buried under research equipment and dead bodies that masked her heat signature and smell. 2 more warriors followed, taking up positions at the entrance. The pack leader and his final warrior waited in the tunnel behind them, directing the search. 6 enemies, all accounted for. All in her killing ground, Maya triggered the trap. She had not rigged the tunnel entrances with explosives. She had rigged the ceiling. The blast brought down tons of rock between the pack leader and his warriors, separating them from their commander. In the chaos that followed, Maya rose from her hiding spot and opened fire. Her first shot took the nearest warrior in the face, punching through its compound eye and into the brain behind. It dropped without a sound. Her second shot missed as the other warriors dove for cover. Her third caught another Vexary in the thorax, staggering it but not killing it. Then they were on her. A warrior tackled her from the left, its forearms wrapping around her body in a crushing grip. Maya drove her knife into its neck, but the blade glanced off the heavy chitin. The creature squeezed tighter, and she felt ribs crack under the pressure. She jammed the barrel of her pistol against the gap in its armor and fired. The fourth shot tore through the soft tissue beneath the chitin, and the warrior's grip loosened. Maya twisted free and put her fifth shot through its eye as it fell. 3 enemies remained in the cavern. The pack leader and his last warrior were still trying to dig through the collapsed tunnel. Maya ran. She was badly hurt now. Every breath sent pain shooting through her broken ribs. Blood ran freely from 6 wounds. But she kept moving, because stopping meant dying, and she was not ready to die yet. The 3 surviving warriors gave chase. They were faster than her, stronger than her, but they were also angry. Angry enemies made mistakes. They rushed forward without checking corners. They ignored potential ambush points. They wanted her dead more than they wanted to stay alive. Maya led them deeper into the natural caverns, toward a section she had scouted earlier. The passage narrowed here, forcing the warriors to move in single file. Perfect for an ambush dot, she set up behind a rock, formation, and waited. The first warrior came around the corner and died with her 6th shot through its open mouth. The other 2 held back, finally remembering caution. Maya heard them clicking to each other, planning their approach. She had 1 bullet left. The warriors split up, 1 going high and 1 going low. They would come at her from 2 angles, making it impossible for her to shoot both. It was a good strategy. Against most prey, it would have worked, but Maya had not survived this long by playing fair. She threw a mining charge toward the higher warrior. Not to kill it, just to distract it. The explosion lit up the cavern, and in that moment of confusion, Maya charged the lower warrior Dot. It was not expecting her to attack. Prey did not attack predators. That was not how the hunt was supposed to work. Maya hit the warrior at full speed, driving her knife into the gap at its shoulder joint. The blade sank deep, severing tendons and nerves. The warrior screamed, a horrible high-pitched whistle, and swung at her with its remaining good arms. She ducked under the swing and fired, her last bullet point-blank into its face. The shot punched through chitin and skull, and the warrior collapsed. Maya rolled off its body and faced the final enemy, her empty pistol in one hand and her bloody knife in the other. The last warrior stood 10 feet away, its body covered in burns from the mining charge. It was wounded, but still dangerous. Maybe more dangerous than before, because now it had nothing left to lose. They stared at each other in the dim glow of the bioluminescent fungi. "No more bullets," the warrior said through its translator. "No more tricks. Just meat." Maya smiled. It was not a nice smile. "You think bullets are what make humans dangerous?" She charged. The warrior was faster. It caught her arm and twisted, sending the knife spinning away into the darkness. Its claws dug into her flesh, drawing blood. Its mandibles clicked with anticipation as it prepared to tear out her throat. Maya headbutted it, her forehead connected with the center of its face, cracking chitin and shattering the delicate structures of its compound eyes. The warrior released her, reeling from the unexpected blow. She hit it again and again. Her fists were nothing compared to its armored body, but the face was soft, vulnerable. She aimed for the eyes, the antennae, the joints where plates of chitin met. The warrior fought back. Its claws tore gashes in her arms and back. Its tail whipped around, striking her in the ribs and sending fresh agony through her broken bones. But Maya did not stop. She could not stop, because somewhere behind her, she could hear the pack leader finally breaking through the collapsed tunnel. She found her knife. Her fingers closed around the handle, just as the warrior's claws closed around her throat. It lifted her off the ground, squeezing, cutting off her air. Black spots danced in her vision. Maya drove the knife into its eye. The warrior dropped her and stumbled backward, screaming. Maya followed it down, stabbing again and again, not stopping until the creature stopped moving. She lay on the cavern floor, gasping for breath, covered in blood, both human and alien. Every part of her body hurt. Her vision was blurring at the edges. She had maybe minutes before shock and blood loss finished what the Vexery had started, but she was still alive. And somewhere in the tunnels behind her, the pack leader and his final warrior were coming for revenge. Maya forced herself to her feet. She still had a knife. She still had the will to fight. The hunt was not over yet. The rescue team found Maya 6 hours later. They had followed the emergency beacon through the mining tunnels, expecting to find another massacre. What they found instead was something that would become legend across human space and beyond. 9 Vexery bodies. 9 of the galaxy's most feared hunters, each one killed by wounds that spoke of close combat. Knife wounds, blunt trauma. One had been killed with a piece of broken machinery. Another had been beaten to death with bare hands. And at the center of it all, barely alive, lay Lieutenant Maya Cole. The medics worked on her for 3 hours before they stabilized her enough for transport. She had 4 broken ribs, a punctured lung, a fractured skull, and blood loss severe enough to kill most people twice over. The doctors on the rescue ship said it was a miracle she was alive at all. Maya disagreed. It was not a miracle. It was stubbornness. She spent 6 weeks in a medical facility on Earth, healing from her wounds and giving endless debriefings to military intelligence officers who could not quite believe what she had done. She answered their questions patiently, describing each kill in clinical detail, explaining the trap she had set and the strategies she had used. When they asked her how she had survived, she always gave the same answer: I refuse to die. The story spread through human space like wildfire. News networks ran features on the Mayan colony massacre and the lone survivor who had turned the hunters into the hunted. Military academies added Maya's tactics to their training programs. Politicians used their story to argue for increased defense spending. But the story did not stay within human space. The Vexery learned what had happened to their hunting pack. They learned that their most decorated pack leader had been killed by a single unarmed human. They learned that the species they had dismissed as easy prey had produced a warrior capable of destroying their finest hunters with nothing but a knife and determination. 4. The first time in their recorded history, the Vexery reconsidered their choice of prey. The decision came down from their highest councils 6 months after Maya's rescue. Humans were no longer to be hunted, not because they were too dangerous to kill, but because the Vexery had finally encountered a species that refused to be prey. Every species they had hunted before had reacted the same way: panic, flight, desperate pleas for mercy. Even the bravest individuals had eventually broken under the pressure of the hunt, but humans were different. Humans did not break. They bent, they bled, they suffered, but they did not break. And when you pushed them into a corner, they did not curl up and wait to die. They pushed back. Maya was promoted to commander. The military offered her a desk job, a comfortable position where she could spend the rest of her career, training other soldiers and telling her story to new recruits. It was a generous offer, a recognition of everything she had sacrificed. She turned it down. There were other colonies out there, other soldiers who needed leadership, other threats that required the kind of determined, adaptable thinking that had kept Maya alive in those tunnels. She was not ready to sit behind a desk while people were still in danger. She returned to active duty within the year. Her first assignment was to a patrol vessel on the frontier, where human colonies were still establishing themselves on new worlds. The crew treated her with a mixture of awe and respect. Everyone knew her story. Everyone knew what she had done. But Maya did not think of herself as a hero. She thought of herself as a soldier who had done her job. She thought of the squad mates she had lost, the colonists who had died before she could save them, the endless nightmares that still woke her in the middle of the night. She thought of the pack leader's final words, his confusion as he died. How? Maya knew the answer. She had known it from the moment the Vexery left her with 10 rounds and a knife, thinking it was a cruel joke. Humans were not the biggest species in the galaxy. They were not the strongest or the fastest or the most technologically advanced. They did not have natural armor or built-in weapons or enhanced senses, but they had something else. Something that the Vexery and every other predator species had failed to understand. Humans never gave up. It was written into their DNA, burned into their souls by millions of years of evolution on a planet that had tried to kill them at every turn. They had faced ice ages and plagues and predators with claws and teeth. They had faced starvation and drought and wars that should have wiped them out completely. And they had survived. Every single time they had survived, because humans did not accept defeat. They did not lie down and wait for death. When the universe told them they could not win, they looked the universe in the eye and said one simple word. Watch me. Maya stood on the bridge of her new ship, looking out at the stars. Somewhere out there, other species were learning the lesson the Vexery had learned. Other predators were discovering that humans were not prey. And somewhere out there, other humans were fighting for their lives, refusing to give up, refusing to die. Maya smiled. Let them come, she thought. Let every predator in the galaxy try to hunt humanity. Let them bring their claws and their teeth and their hunting packs. Humans had faced worse. Humans had survived worse, and humans would keep surviving, no matter what the universe threw at them, because that was what humans did. They refused to die. And God help anyone who tried to make them. Maya stumbled through the caverns, leaving a trail of blood behind her. She knew the pack leader would follow that trail. She was counting on it. Her body was failing. The broken ribs made every breath a battle. The wounds on her arms and back had soaked through the makeshift bandages. Her vision kept fading in and out, and she had to stop every few minutes to rest against the cold stone walls. But she was not dead yet. And as long as she was alive, she was dangerous. The pack leader and his final warrior were close behind. She could hear their clicking communications echoing through the tunnels. They were moving carefully now, checking for traps, refusing to underestimate her again. Smart, but careful, took time. And time was something Maya desperately needed. She found the chamber she was looking for deep in the natural cavern system. It was a dead end, a large circular space with walls of solid rock and no other exits. Under normal circumstances, backing yourself into a corner was suicide. But Maya was beyond normal circumstances. The chamber had been part of the original geological survey. The researchers had set up equipment here to study the planet's core including industrial drilling rigs and heavy mining gear. Most of it was still functional. Maya worked quickly, ignoring the pain that threatened to overwhelm her. She rigged the drilling equipment with the last of her mining charges. She arranged the heavy machinery to create barriers and choke points. She found a first aid kit among the research supplies and used it to treat her worst wounds. She was setting up a killing ground. If the pack leader wanted to finish her, he would have to come through this chamber. And she intended to make him pay for every step. The clicking sounds grew louder. They were almost here. Maya positioned herself behind a barricade of equipment, her knife in her hand. She had nothing left. No bullets. No explosives. No tricks. Just her blade and her will to survive. The pack leader entered the chamber first. He was magnificent in his fury. 8 feet of pure predatory power, his black chitin gleaming in the dim light. His armor was covered in marks and decorations that spoke of 100 successful hunts across a dozen star systems. In his forearms, he carried ceremonial weapons designed for honor kills. His final warrior followed close behind. Smaller but no less deadly, the pack leader surveyed the chamber, his compound eyes taking in Maya's defensive position. When he spoke, his translator rendered his words in a tone of cold contempt. "You have killed 7 of my warriors." 8, Maya corrected. "Your scout was the first." The pack leader's mandibles clicked in what might have been anger or amusement. 8 warriors, the finest hunters of my clan, killed by 1 wounded prey animal with no weapons. I have a knife. You have a toothpick. You are bleeding from a dozen wounds. You can barely stand. He stepped forward, his ceremonial blades catching the light. This hunt ends now. Maya tightened her grip on the knife. Then come and end it. The warrior attacked first. It moved with blinding speed, vaulting over the barricade and reaching for Maya with all 4 arms. She dodged left, sliding under its grasp, and slashed at the tendons in its leg. The blade bit deep. The warrior stumbled, and Maya pressed her advantage. She drove the knife into the gap at its hip joint, twisting the blade to maximize the damage. The warrior screamed and swung at her with a clawed hand. The blow connected with her already broken ribs. Maya felt something shift inside her chest, and suddenly breathing became even harder. She fell back, gasping, blood bubbling on her lips. The warrior limped toward her, dragging its injured leg. Its mandibles clicked with hatred. "You will suffer for this, prey. I will take hours to kill you." Maya spit blood in its face, while the warrior reeled from the unexpected insult. She triggered the mine charge she had hidden in the barricade. The explosion caught the warrior full in the chest. It was not enough to kill a Vexery, not through their armored chitin, but it sent the creature flying backward, slamming into the drilling equipment with bone-crushing force. Maya was on it before it could recover. Her knife found the gap in its armor, the same gap she had exploited a dozen times now. The warrior thrashed and fought, its claws opening new wounds on her arms and shoulders. But she held on. The blade sank deeper. The warrior's movements became weaker, then stopped entirely. Maya rolled off the body and tried to stand. Her legs would not cooperate. She managed to get to her knees before the pack leader's kick sent her sprawling across the chamber floor. "Impressive," the pack leader said, walking toward her with slow, deliberate steps. "You have killed my entire pack. You have turned my greatest hunt into my greatest shame." Maya crawled backward, searching desperately for her knife. Her fingers found only cold stone. "But it ends here," the pack leader continued. "You will die, and I will mount your skull on the highest spire of my homeworld. Future generations will know the story of the prey that fought back, and they will honor my victory all the more for it." He loomed over her, all 8 feet of chitinous fury. His ceremonial blade rose for the killing strike. Maya's hand closed around a piece of broken machinery. A metal rod, heavy and sharp at one end. Not a knife, but it would do. You want to know the difference between us? She asked, blood running down her face. The pack leader paused. What difference could there be? You are prey. I am predator. That is the natural order. The difference, Maya said, is that I was never prey. Not for 1 second. She drove the metal rod upward with every ounce of strength she had left. It punched through the gap in his armor, sliding between the plates of chitin and into the soft tissue beneath. The pack leader staggered. His ceremonial blade clattered to the ground. He looked down at the piece of metal protruding from his chest, then back at Maya, and for the first time, she saw something other than contempt in his compound eyes. She saw fear. How? He whispered through his translator. Maya pushed herself to her feet, using the rod as leverage. She was dying. She knew that. The internal bleeding alone would kill her within the hour. But she would not die on the ground. You gave me 10 rounds and a knife because you thought it would be funny, she said. You thought I would run and hide and beg for mercy. You thought I was prey. She twisted the rod, and the pack leader screamed. But that is not what humans do. We do not run. We do not hide. We do not beg. She leaned close, her bloody face inches from his. We fight. We adapt. We survive. And we kill anything that threatens us. She pulled the rod free and drove it in again, finding the nerve cluster she had learned to target. The pack leader shuddered, his forearms going limp, his legs folding beneath him. He collapsed at her feet. The greatest hunter of his generation brought down by one wounded human with nothing but her will to survive. Maya stood over his body, swaying on her feet. The chamber was silent, except for the drip of water and the distant hum of the emergency beacon. She had done it. She had killed them all. And now, finally, she let herself fall.